Alright, welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to give you a guide to getting the perfect sensitivity in Rainbow Six Siege. If you don't know about me, I'm an ex-competitive Rainbow Six Siege player. I never made it to T1, but I've played with and against players who ended up going T1 or T1 team in competitive leagues and tournaments. In that time, I've learned a little bit about the game, and I'm going to try and give you some information that I've learned over the years of playing to help you improve at the game. So when it comes to aiming and sensitivity, there's two kind of sort of aimers you could be, and one is a wrist aimer and one is an arm aimer. So a lot of pro players are arm aimers, there's very few wrist aimers, mainly because it's more reliable and consistent. However, you kind of have to do what feels comfortable for you. If you feel more comfortable with a wrist sensitivity, then play that all you want. You need to feel comfortable with your sensitivity. It's not really about having the fastest sensitivity for the most flashy flick, and it's not about having the most slow sensitivity for the most consistent sort of aiming. It's all about comfortability. That's why this video is on what is the perfect sensitivity for you, not what is my sensitivity or what is this pro player sensitivity, because all pro players kind of have a sensitivity that works for them, and then for you it might not be that same sensitivity. So in this video I'm going to give you some drills that you can use to find your sensitivity and what you would do, like how you would do that. So the first thing you want to think about is your horizontal and the vertical sensitivity, which is like the un-ADS sensitivity. So when I'm just moving around like this is my sensitivity here. For me, I've got mine quite high just because that's what feels most comfortable for me. I say it's quite high, it's not really, it's 8 on 800 DPI, but compared to a lot of pro sensitivities, a lot of them will have like, when it comes to like pro players, a lot of them will have like sensitivities like 12 on 400 DPI, so that would be 6 on 800 DPI, so realistically, mine's only 2 higher on 800 DPI, but this is just what feels comfortable for me at this current moment in time. There is obviously outliers and people who will play higher sensitivities, but usually if they play higher horizontal and vertical, they'll have a lower ADS sensitivity, which kind of balances it out for when they're aiming. And then they can move fast while they're un-ADS, but then when they want to aim in, it's slow enough that they can control it. So the first kind of drill that I'm going to show you is to be able to find your horizontal and vertical sensitivity. And now to do this, all you need to do is literally just go into a map, like in a training grounds or in like a custom game or anything like that, and then just sort of like move around on ADS and flick the different angles. So like you want to be able to do perfect 180s or next to perfect. It's not going to be perfect every time if you're doing it fast, but you want to be able to like flick 90 degrees, 180 degrees and 360 degrees. You don't really need to do 360s, but it's nice to practice them if you want to, if your sensitivity allows for that, if it's fast enough. For the most part, you want the most important thing you want to be able to do though is to be able to flick between different angles. So as you can see, sometimes I have to do some micro adjustments, which means that my sensitivity isn't really perfect, but I found that like for the most part it's if I go up one it's too fast, and if I go down one it's too slow for me. So then at that point I'm going to have to change my multiplier to be able to figure out how to do that. If you want a tip on how to change a multiplier, then comment that down below and I'll do it in another video. So once you're able to sort of move around and flick between different angles quite quickly, preferably as well angles that are outside of your field of vision, like everybody can sort of go like see this and go like, okay, I want to flick here. Like you can do that pretty easily, but if it's outside your field of vision, then it's more off the feeling rather than what you're looking at. Like if I'm looking at that server unit, I can pretty easily just go like that. So you just want to mess around with the sensitivities to the point where you can do this. What you can do as well is start off with a baseline of like get a pro player sensitivity to use it as a base, but don't just get a pro player sensitivity and hop into a game thinking you're going to play like them. Just use them as like an idea. I would recommend, if you're an arm aimer, to play within the range of like 7 to to play within the range of 8 to 12 sensitivity on the horizontal and vertical on 400 DPI. So that would be 4 and 6 on 800 DPI, just because they're more consistently used by arm aimers. And then if you're a wrist aimer, I would recommend anything between 12 and 20 on 800 DPI and 400 DPI, sorry, which is 6 and 10 on 800 DPI. But like I said at the start though, I would definitely recommend you learn how to be an arm aimer. That's just more if you're not really comfortable being an arm aimer. But anyways, once you've done this for around like 5 to 10 minutes, you should have a number that feels kind of comfortable for you. And like also as well, don't be scared to like start off slowly and then start speeding it up as you go. Until you're like comfortable with it. I like to do it quite fast because then it becomes more reactionary over like when you're moving around, you'll see the angle that you want to stop on. But if it's more reactionary, then you know that if you have to flick fast in an in-game environment, then you can do that because you're able to do it with your sensitivity that you've found is working right now. Anyways, so once you've found your horizontal and vertical by doing that routine, you want to then start thinking about your ADS sensitivity. Now this is very simple, however there's a lot of them that you need to find out, and that's for every single one of the scopes basically. So I would recommend starting off with one scope at a time. Like ideally just use a hollow scope and then figure it out for that, and then once you've done that you can either do it individually for the next scopes, or you can use a calculator program that I'll link in the description to, or a calculator website that I'll link in the description to find what that would be on different sensitivities just to get you going quicker. But I would recommend that you find out your individual one alone for each scope, just because it might differ from what it says it should be, and then you'll be even more comfortable. So the first thing that you want to think about when finding your sensitivity is, are you able to keep locked onto a specific point? I'll avoid there because that's where the bots are, but you want to find a point or like a thing to look at, like a point of interest, aim on it, and then walk around side to side while keeping your aim as steady as you can on it. Mine's not really perfect, but that's just because I've got weird little jitters in my wrist that makes it like look shaky. But what you want to think about is when you're going like this, if you're going like this with it, then your sensitivity is too fast, and it's not like able to stay on the same point. Or if you're going like this and then your sensitivity is struggling to keep up like that, then your sensitivity is too slow. So the way that I do it is I'll pick a random number. I'll just quickly change it now and show you what I mean. I'll pick a random number, let's say 60. Because I've played on a lot of sensitivities, it sometimes it means that I can just kind of pick one and run with it, so it might not be too bad, but as you can see, I'm sort of like going a little bit over that way with it because it's too fast for us. And then if I was to go down to like 15, and then I was trying to do the same thing, as you can see it's hard to keep onto it, and I have to I'll fall off it and then I have to keep readjusting. That's because it's too slow. So once you've like figured out in terms of like what feels comfortable, you might want to start adjusting it in terms of like if it's really like fast or really slow, then you want to up it by like 10. But then once you start getting closer to what feels comfortable, then start lowering down the intervals that you like. Then maybe go down by 5, maybe go down by even 1 at some point when you're finding like the perfect point. So this feels too fast for me because as you can see I'm going a bit like that, so I'm going to lower it down. Let's lower it down to like 43. Now it's a little bit jittery because my my wrist is fucking jittery, but that pretty much feels comfortable for me now. So once you've done that and you've found like a base point to work from, then you want to start thinking about in-game situations that you'll go in and how you, if you're able to like do them, like find the limitations of your settings. So you want to first start by going around this routine of which is called slicing the pie. So I'll go around in a training ground and I'll just sort of clear angles out like this. Make sure your aim is locked onto the corner of a wall or something. So when I'm doing this, I'm starting to realise that my sensitivity feels a little bit too slow. Like, you want to make sure that you're keeping angles head height and on all angles that you're going to have to go past. But as you can see, it's kind of feeling a little bit too slow for us. If I wanted to flick between angles like that, it feels okay. But then when I'm trying to keep it locked on a single point, it starts to feel a little bit too slow. So maybe I'll up it by like 1. Up it by 1. Now if I do the same thing again, slicing the pie, that feels okay for me. And then if I want to flick the different angles, I can do that. So yeah, once you've done that and you feel comfortable by doing that, the next thing you want to do is flick in between objects. Now you'll see a lot of people doing this. If you watch streamers a lot, you'll see them doing this in like prep phase. They'll just shoot random objects within the map, like that. And the reason for doing this is just to get that little bit more comfortable and warmed up with your sense. If it's like your first game on, or if you just want to get like locked in a little bit, you want to like shoot around and flick around with your sensitivity. So you want to find areas with like loads of different objects you can shoot. This is a good example here with these 6 paintings. And then you want to just kind of flick between them. I'm not going to shoot them because if I shoot them it'll destroy them and then I can't reuse them, but you simply just want to go around and then like see how fast you can like flick between them. Like stuff like that, and just make sure you're comfortable in flicking these small micro adjustments, micro flicks, because that's a lot of the fights that you'll have. If your crosshair placement is good, you shouldn't really have to do that many big flicks within games. There should be a lot of like micro flicks, and then you need to get comfortable with that, with the sensitivity that you want to play. What you can do as well, once you've done the first 2 drills on their own, is to go around the map, keeping like doing them both at the same time. So you want to keep your aim head level and then start like flicking the things as you're going past. Like flicking to different angles. And then also like doing things like changing your movement speed and elevation. Usually if you move slower, it's easier to slice the pie because you're moving slower. But another thing you can do to help with the sort of slicing the pie tactic is to use a horizontal grip, which increases your movement speed. Because if your movement speed faster, it's going to be harder to slice the pie. And then once you go back down to the slower speed, it'll be a little bit easier to do for you. Because my personal sensitivity is quite high, another thing that I like to do is like the horizontal and vertical one, where I flick between different like locations and angles by being on ADS. I like to do it while ADSing as well, just because I want to get comfortable with that, because my sense is able to do that. If you play a really like, if you play like an arm sense, then it's probably not going to be possible to do that with your sense. But well, you might be able to do like a 180 while you're ADSing if you're doing like an arm sense. But a lot of arm senses, like if you know pros like Shigo, their arm sense can do maybe like 90-degree turns. Maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration, but you get what you also want to think about with your sensitivity is how it affects your recoil control as well. Because I've found for me that a higher sensitivity makes recoil control easier, and a lower one makes it easier to aim at things but harder to control recoil. So you want to find like a middle ground, and to do that you simply just want to go around and practice your recoil on things and make sure it's like on point as it was before you changed your sense. If you realize that your senses, the recoil control is going up when you're shooting, like you're trying to control it but it's going up a little bit, then you need to pull down more. And if you're overcompensating, then you need to stop and like realize and pull up a little bit, or just take your finger off the mouse and go again. Another trick that people use is a tactic that was created by an ex-pro player called Noted, a Brazilian player. And what he kind of said was to sort of stand in between two things like this, and then sort of use your like aim to flick between them to feel comfortable with that, and do it like fast. You might want to start off a bit slower. Also, you want to do it one side at a time like this, and then switch around and do it the other way. But I didn't really use that trick myself. I just telling you because I know it's a thing that people do, and that it's there for you to use, another tool for you like at your disposal if you want to. So once you've put all these tricks together and you think you've found your perfect sensitivity, then you're gonna want to run around in the training grounds and then try and put them all to use. Like make sure you walk around slicing the pie as much as you can, and then when you see people flicking onto them and seeing objects, flick onto them, just so you can get that extra sort of little bit of practice in. Once you, as well, when you're going around doing these training grounds, think about things that you'll be doing in game. Like make sure you're spraying, make sure you're tapping. Like if you want to practice like the flicks, then tap it. But if you also want to think about your recoil control, so you want to keep spraying sometimes as well. Usually when I'm spraying at people, I will like locate the body and try and shoot for the body rather than the head, because then I can get more bullets in. Like that, like there I overcompensated my recoil control there. And as well, make sure you're playing it like it's an actual game. Like check angles that people will play. So when I walk through this door here, or when I walked up to this door, I made sure I check the blue angle that people hold. And then just walk around holding angles, checking angles as you go. Also as well, don't be scared to like quick peek things when you're going around, just so you can get that extra practice in of quick peek. So the last thing you want to make sure that you're able to do is to peek around corners and peek windows and peek doors, and be able to flick to a point, like flick to an enemy's head, for example, if they're stationary or if they're moving. In training grounds you can only really test against stationary enemies, so you might want to hop into the range and use the bots there, like when you can put them on the movement one. But you want to make sure you can swing around corners and be able to flick to the enemy's head as fast as possible. So I'm going to use this as an example here, where the last one's a meat locker. Like that, it wasn't too much of a big flick because we're slicing the pie and we've got good crosshair placement. But you just want to make sure you're able to do the fundamentals like that as fast as possible, because every millisecond counts within like rank. Alright, so for this last little bit, I'm just going to walk around and sort of like show you this in full practice, so you can see exactly what I'm doing and how I'm clearing things and what I'm checking, like, and what I'm flicking at. So you can get this down yourself a little bit. So I'm probably not going to talk for this little bit. Sometimes as well, when you're practicing, you're going to want to make sure that your aim's not perfect, like you're not on angles. Like if someone's coming this way, you want to have your aim like here, just so you can practice the flick to them. You don't want to do this in games, but it just gets you that little extra bit of flicking experience. But yeah, that's it for this video. If you enjoyed, drop a like, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.